Can I ask you a few questions?
Okay, sure.
We really appreciate you coming down today. Obviously, you have a mouthpiece, and people listen to what you say. What do you think we could do right now to really get Americans out on the street and to join this movement? What would you say to Americans who are going to be watching this on YouTube at this point in time, and the situation that we're in and the possibilities of this movement?
Well, I think you're doing it. That's the most important thing, is what you're doing. You just keep doing it. It sends a real message, I think, that people are in the streets, because it's the only other way to get your voice heard if you don't play the game the way it's been played, with lobbyists, congressmen who are too much influenced by lobbyists, corporate money that influences the politicians. This is really the only alternative, so don't let them convince you to come inside, put on a suit, and hire a lobbyist. That's how you lose. This is how you win. So my congratulations to you.
Based on where we're at today, what do you think the chances are of this movement really forming a solid foundation which will help this country and the world kind of restore democracy kind of as we hope it to be?
I say the odds are 99 to 1 that it'll happen.
Those are pretty good odds.
They are good odds.
So you're pretty optimistic then at this point in time that this movement could really get some serious traction and garner worldwide support?
Absolutely. I mean, already the polls show that the people in this country are behind this movement, and that will translate into pressure on political figures to pay attention to it and its goals, and that's what is needed. I mean, we don't want to overthrow our system of government. We've already found out that it is the best system except for all the other systems. Well, I don't want to overthrow our system. I just want to make it work. You know, I'm for democracy.
Oh my God, he's so handsome.
I'm for democracy.
You admire already,
I
think we're all for democracy. We just would like to see it work the way it used to.
So have we ever had a true democratic system in this country?
You'd have to ask a historian, but I think it used to be more democratic. It certainly used to be more fair.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not against capitalism either. I don't think most people are who are here. I think we are just for making capitalism regulated and more equitable. I'm not a communist. I think that would be a much worse option. But all modern societies that work, I'm thinking of governments in Europe that function more smoothly than ours, that take care of their citizens, they're a hybrid of capitalism and socialism. Obviously, America is also. We are full of socialist entities in this country. Even the tea bankers don't want to get rid of Social Security. They want their Medicare. They want their farm subsidies. They want their mortgages through the government. The bankers, they certainly take more handouts than anybody. But it has to be done in a fair way, and it has to be done in a way that works for everybody, and capitalism has to be regulated.
Do you think there's any possibility that the Democratic Party is going to latch onto this movement, or is this movement going to become an entity of its own, in its own?
Well, it's always a struggle to get the Democratic Party to do what's in their own best interests, which would be to align themselves with the majority of the population that looks to them to be the champions of the people. But again, if you stay here and the polls keep showing that the people are behind the Occupy Wall Street movement, yes, that will move the politicians eventually.
Even though they've been bought and paid for?
Well, they've been bought and paid for, but they also want to keep their jobs.
Yep.
And we vote.
But what?
We can't not compost.
Public elections, I was just saying to my friend not 5 minutes ago, we need public elections. Of course, we got to get the money out of politics.
Do you think that could be or should be one of our first and preeminent demands?
You can just ditch it under a
sure. I mean, there's, I think a lot of demands. I bet you everybody in this crowd, she's got a newsletter.
Let prisoners out of jail.
Right.
No jail for pot.
We have no dearth of causes here.
Yeah, but I mean, it's going to be important for us to focus our energies on some real critical things.
You know, and
it seems like taking big money out of the political aspect of our governing system could be an important step in a good direction.
Absolutely. That's the root of it all, is that the corporations own the governments, and of course they don't want change. They like things just the way they are. And somehow we have a situation where more people are out of work than ever, and taxes are lower than ever. But one of the main political parties, every one of their platforms is about how we should tax the rich less.
Yeah. What would you say about Citizens United in particular?
I think it's awful.
Yeah.
I think the Supreme Court has made so many terrible decisions, and they're always behind big business, always siding with business against people. And that's another reason why in a country where we only have two parties, you have to sometimes hold your nose and vote for the one that's going to at least going to appoint better Supreme Court justices, because that's the key to a lot of things. Let's not forget that Obama did appoint two pretty good Supreme Court justices who are trying to swing the balance a little more back to the center.
Do you think that we need a third party or additional parties in this country, or do you think that we can change the system from within the current structure?
You know, I think the only way multiple parties would work in this country is if we had a parliamentary system, which we don't. You know, we don't have a system like the European countries where that's where multiple parties work. We don't form coalition governments. So I doubt if we're going to get a page one rewrite of the Constitution to make that happen. And as long as we have the system we have, I think we're always going to have to live with this two-party system. Third parties historically only draw votes away from the party you actually are favoring.
Right, which is a problem in its own, obviously.
That is a problem in its own, but I think we have to pick one of them to go to bed with.
And then one last thing, what would you, I think I already asked it, but what would you say to the people? How do we rally them, truly get them off their couch, away from the TV, away from American Idol, and out on the streets?
Right.
As far as building the soil, that's another thing.
You're really watching Bill Maher.
Well, I think that's happening. You know, I think people are just fed up. And look, Americans love convenience. It's very hard to dissuade them from the sops they are thrown by corporate America. But when it gets to this point, and of course your allies in this are your enemies, the big business people who keep making life worse and worse for the regular citizens in this country, and it takes a lot, you're right, to get them off the couch. But at a certain point, like the movie said, they're going to stand up and say, I'm fed up, I'm mad as hell, I'm not going to take it anymore.
If you build it, they will come.
Yeah, and you've built it, so congratulations.
All right, well, thank you very much for coming down. We really appreciate it.
All right,
thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, this is Nice Wander, and you're watching the NOWMAN Show, and I am here with Victor E. Kaplan. At the age of 102, is the oldest practicing member of the California State Bar. He is licensed to practice in all the courts in the state of California. He's a member of all the California Bar Associations, and he possesses the AV, or what's called preeminent, of the Martindale-Hubbell Attorney Peer Review Rating, based on honesty and integrity. Victor Kaplan, thank you so much for being on the NOWMAN Show. It's an honor, sir.
I'm happy to be here.
And we are here at the Inland Boatmen's Union Hall. And Mr. Kaplan, what was it that got you excited about getting into the law profession?
Well, I guess it started in grammar school. We had a school that tried to install some civic duties with the young people in grammar school, and I decided I wanted to become a defense lawyer. Others chose mayor and prosecuting lawyer. But defense law appealed to me at that time, and it was just a kind of a beginning, but I didn't really seriously think about it until I got into high school and then college.
And you went to school at UCLA and during the Depression.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, I entered UCLA in 1932, and at that time we could get an AB degree in 3 years, which I did, and then I entered USC Law School, 35 and graduated. 38, took the bar and became a lawyer in December 1938.
Wow. And you went to work with your brother, your older brother, who already was working as an attorney, correct?
Yes, he's 6 years older than I was, and he joined a firm of 2 men. One soon became a judge, and the other became interested in motion pictures, and as a result, my brother was left with the practice, and it was essentially entertainment law. And so when I got out of law school, it was Depression time. The only job available at that time was my brother's office. And so I was interested at that time because the New Deal was just coming up, and there was a whole atmosphere of united front and democracy in the air, and
Great.
I was interested in the upcoming labor movement because John L. Lewis of the United Mine Workers was forming the Congress of Industrial Relations, and
CIO.
the CIO. And I thought maybe I would like to be a labor lawyer. I made an agreement with my brother's partner, who he and I went through school together, that the first guy drafted would join the Army, and he got his card in a few weeks. So I joined with him, and we, when we went to the reception camp, we were assigned to guarding German prisoners, the guys who came in from the Africa Corps. And we were at Camp Joseph T. Robinson, and a team came through to reclassify those who weren't in the proper spot. So my friend, who had exactly the same education as me, was sent to the Quartermaster Corps, and I was sent to become an officer.
Oh, so
And-
did you serve as an officer?
Huh?
Did you
No,
serve as an officer?
I was sent to a part of the Army that equips soldiers going into combat. And so I had 6 weeks of training with them, sent overseas, landed on D-Day in Liverpool.
Oh, you did? You were in Liverpool.
Yes, and then they sent us to a little town called Chard on the English Channel, and we would equip guys going into battle that were not with regular regiments. And I was there for a while, and I decided I wanted to do something better, and I volunteered for the infantry and was assigned to the 28th Infantry Division as a sergeant. And we relieved the guys in the Battle of the Bulge.
Oh, wow.
And from there we were sent to round up prisoners in the Ruhr Valley. We would go from town to town, and there would be white flags all over the place, and our captain would assemble the town and the Burgermeister and tell the people they'd have 20 minutes to get out.
Wow.
And we would search every house in town for ammunition, and then we were looking for SS and Gestapo people who were by then going into hiding.
Yes.
Well, We did. I didn't see any, but except a drunk Russian who was a prisoner in a local agricultural camp. We freed that camp.
Mm-hmm.
I was assigned to take him back to camp, and it was our first day of liberation. It was really interesting.
Wow. What day and year was that?
Well, this was in 40, I guess it had to be 44, 45.
So towards the end.
Yes,
Yeah.
well, it was.
Yeah.
And they dropped the bomb on the 15th of August, so I was then discharged January of 46 and went back to my old firm at my old job.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
There was a strike of the back lot in the studios. And that was a nasty, violent strike. All the studios were struck.
What year was that?
I think that was in maybe 48. And this was just back lot people.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But it was the beginning of the Cold War.
Yes.
And there was a lot of red baiting going on at that time. And the studios attempted to run in scabs so that
And what is a scab?
a strike breaker.
Strike breaker. Yeah.
And so that a lot of arrests were made. As a matter of fact, there were so many arrests that they decided to hold mass trials. So
Wow.
our firm represented all of the strike breakers, and they had 2 mass trials consisting of about 500 defendants each.
But you stayed essentially with labor. That was your passion, correct?
Yes, I was. Well, I was with them, but as a result of the times, the McCarthy period, the union leadership changed. There was a lot of red baiting. There were elections. A new leadership came in, and they hired their own attorneys. The business of the firm dropped radically. I left to go with my brother's office. I mean, there just wasn't work for me. It would have been impossible to get a job in a labor law office at that time.
So when were you able to do that?
Well, I managed to hook up with an attorney by the name of Raul Magana, who was a leading personal injury attorney. And he invited me to join him, that he would have some work for me, and I could have my own practice. So
Great.
I joined him.
You're still working now. I mean, in 1981, you went to work with your son, Jay. So, and you're continuing to do labor law and pension right matters to this day.
Oh, yes.
And so, with all this experience, how has the legal profession changed in all this time that you've been involved in, the almost 80 years now?
Well, the legal profession has changed in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I mean, before we used to do a lot of things on a handshake. You don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
There's so much paperwork now. Everything is done by computer, so that you can do a lot of this work at home.
Yes.
And as far as labor is concerned, there's little done in the way of involving them in meetings, in decisions. Then maybe they get a chance to vote on a certain issue, but they don't get them involved in the particular issue itself, or educate them the way they should. With certain exceptions, the Longshore Union is a notable exception, and so is the Inland Boatmen's Union. I did, of course, a lot of arbitration for the Inland Boatmen's Union.
Whose hall we're in right now?
Yes.
Yes. So right now, though, you're working on pension rights mostly?
Yes, for the railroad workers.
For the railroad workers. Well, why do you think, and obviously I've never spoken to anyone before, and I'm honored to be able to speak with you, someone who actually cast votes for FDR. That's just amazing to me. And why do you think it's important that people go out and vote?
It's important for everybody to exercise their right to vote. If you want to get the kind of a country you want to live in and have free speech, and as we pretty much had in this country. And we certainly have the tools in the Bill of Rights to see that it's carried out. But it's only going to be carried out if people exercise their right to vote and to meet and discuss.
Absolutely. This is a democracy.
That's right.
And that's what we want to maintain. And we want to continue to see that happening in this country.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mr. Kaplan, thank you so much. It was an honor speaking with you, and I'm here with Victor E. Kaplan, and this is the NOWMAN Show.
We're doing everything we can to try to get this message out. I believe as a member of the media on public television, especially on public television and public radio, it is my mission, it's my mandate, it's my calling, my vocation, my purpose to try to get Americans who don't get this to re-examine the assumptions they hold. My job is to try to help them to expand their inventory of ideas. My job on public TV and public radio is to try to get them to look at this country and the crisis of this country through a different prism. That's the job that I try to do every day on public TV and public radio. So I'm always honored to be a part of a struggle that's trying to get America to wrestle with its own demons, wrestle with its own challenges, its own crises. I wanted to share with you when Dr. West and I appeared on Keith's show just a moment ago on current television, one of the questions that he asked us, because this critique is moving around the country, that this movement is 99% white. Exactly. And Dr. West and I we just pushed back on that lie on national television. This is multicultural, this is multiracial, this is multi-ethnic. This protest is a microcosm of this city, and it's a microcosm of this country. Y'all didn't clap loud enough on that. And I just came back right quick to say, for those of us who live and work, or who live and are trying to work in this so-called city of the angels, I came back to say that if we are serious about taking our future into our own hands, when persons, I know we're streaming live right now, so I'm talking to folk right now who are not here. Folk who are not here right now, but know that they're catching hell. Know that they can't find a job. Know that they can't afford their student loans. Know that they're living back home with their mom and them. Know that they don't have access to health care, etc., etc., etc. If you have a legitimate grievance, this is where you need to be. I said to Keith when Keith asked whether or not there was a problem with the fact that the movement at the moment doesn't have a cohesive or coherent message, that there isn't a laundry list of demands. I said, who said? I like this right here. But who said that there are a variety of legitimate grievances here at this protest about jobs, about getting out of Iraq and Afghanistan, about access to health care, etc., etc. So there are a lot of issues here, a lot of legitimate grievances, and I'm convinced that if we keep making enough noise, somebody's got to start asking questions about what does matter to us. The worst thing you can do to a human being is to make him or her feel invisible, to make them feel disposable, to make them feel like they're a calculation or they are an afterthought. And there's too much of that in this country. The humanity of too many people is being contested every day. What we are fighting against is the contestation of the humanity of too many Americans of all races, colors, creeds, etc. So I came back tonight to talk to CNN and to talk to Keith and of course my own show on PBS and on NPR and PRI, but to try to raise your voice through the voice and the platform that I have about how significant and how necessary this is. So I celebrate your courage, I celebrate your conviction, I celebrate your commitment, I celebrate your character for being out here.
The condition of truth is always to allow suffering to speak. Suffering from wherever it comes. We are an inclusive group.
Yes.
Tea Party brothers and sisters look like the audience for Lawrence Welk in the National. I ain't got nothing against Lawrence Welk and Bubbles. We look more like an audience for Lupe Fiasco. Or we look more like an audience for Carole King and James Taylor. Yeah, we look more like an audience for Prince. That's the kind of audience we got. Yes, we come against the grain, but it's uncommon humanity. So yes, we are open to prophetic Mormon brothers and sisters if they believe that corporate greed ought to be eliminated. That's right. Give the prophetic Mormon brothers and sisters a hand right now if they want to come here and join the movement. We're here for the progressive, agnostic, and atheistic brothers and sisters. Come and join the movement. That's right. Even for prophetic black Baptists like myself. That's why I'm here too. And I saw a picture of Brother Martin Luther King Jr. Put it back up again. Show Brother Martin. Where's Brother Martin? Somebody put Brother Martin's picture up. That's part of our legacy too. For our prophetic Jewish brothers and sisters, come and fight corporate greed. This is part of the movement. Our Muslim brothers and sisters, come join the movement. Buddhist brothers and sisters, come join the movement. We cut against the grain. So don't let anybody tell you that we just a shadow of a Tea Party movement. Hell no! No way! And not only that, but we are international because corporate greed cuts across national boundaries, and we know we got to cut radically against the grain, and that's why it's a blessing for me to be here.
I saw the same thing in New York, Occupy Boston as well as Occupy L.A. that focuses on corporate greed. It talks about individual liberty, it talks about social justice, it talks about democratic accountability, especially the 1% who own 40% of the wealth.
The worst thing you can do to human beings, as evidenced by these Occupy movements, the worst thing you can do to a human being is to make him or her feel like they don't matter, as if they are in fact invisible. And I want to just add right quickly, I was listening to the show earlier, of course, and there's some who have a problem with a lack of coherent or cohesive message. Maybe it's a bit counterintuitive, Keith, I don't feel that same pressure. There are a lot of folk out here who have a lot of legitimate grievances, and as long as these protests continue to grow, somebody in Washington is going to have to start asking them what their grievances are. So you lay out a list and we start talking about how we address the problems. There doesn't have to be one particular grievance, as was the case during the Civil Rights era.